always enjoy getting recipes from family and friends and reading organization cookbooks and those kinds of things, but I especially like getting things from my mom, and this recipe is in fact from her. It's called corn casserole, and I thought it was a particularly appropriate one for this time of year because we're still trying to get those other items out of the freezer and out of the shelves so that we can restock as the season starts on. This one starts with 2 cups of frozen corn or canned corn, whichever one you have. I would partly thaw the frozen corn so that it will bake better since this is going to go in the oven. If you're using canned corn, just make sure you drain it well. If you're using canned corn, it takes about a pint or a 15-ounce can, if you can still find a 15-ounce can. I noticed a lot of them have downsized to 14.75 ounces now. Also in this is going to go a can of cream corn or a pint of cream corn if you've canned your own, or cream-style corn is what it actually is. We'll set that down. I'm going to use 2 eggs as well. Now this recipe is from my mom, as I said, but I found that I could do some things with it that she had already started to make some changes to make the nutritional value improve, but I was able to make a few additional changes as well. And I want to stir these eggs just a little bit into the corn so that we get them blended up. If you want to, you can beat them ahead of time, and that will also help, but this works just as well, and actually if you're cracking the eggs here into a small bowl, you can be able to save yourself a bowl. The original recipe called for 1 cup of vegetable oil, and we're going to add some cornmeal mix or corn muffin mix, and that already has fat in it as well. We had the fat from the eggs, and we're going to have some cheese in here, another source of fat. So Mom had already cut the fat down to 1 cup, and I went ahead and cut it down a little further, and it seems to work very well. I've cut it down to 1/3 of a cup. I used large eggs, and if you wanted to cut the fat content or the cholesterol a little bit more, you could use an egg substitute, or you could use 4 egg whites instead of an egg yolk, and that would cut it again. Now the next ingredient here is a corn muffin mix, and there are several varieties on the market. They come in a little bit different size of package, but it really doesn't make that much difference what size package you have. The biggest one I found was 8.5 ounces, and the smallest went down to 6.5. Any of them will work in this recipe. The thing you want to do is look for the ingredient label on each of the products, and that'll be down here, usually somewhere here it'll say ingredients, and read through there because some of them actually use lard. This one uses lard, and that's going to mean that it's higher in saturated fat. It's going to be higher in cholesterol if you're concerned about that in your diet. Some of them used a combination. They would tell you that it had either lard, beef tallow, or vegetable oil, hydrogenated vegetable oil. The others used a hydrogenated fat. So it's going to depend, reading labels, depending on what your own nutritional values are going to be or needs are going to be. The cost is not that much different. The cheapest one was 33 cents, 30 cents, excuse me, and the most expensive one was 38 cents. So it's not a big cost factor. Whichever one you choose, just open it up. We're going to stir that in here. We're basically just stirring all the ingredients together. Also to this, the original recipe called for a cup of mild cheddar cheese. I changed that to sharp cheese because it has more flavor pop, but I cut it down to a 1/2 cup instead of a full cup. And then to get more nutrients and a little bit more color in here, I'm adding a 1/2 cup of chopped red pepper and a 1/2 cup of chopped green pepper. These, again, would be something you could pull out of your freezer. Hopefully when you had peppers going last summer or towards the fall, you put some away. This is an excellent use for these because they're going to be cooked into the casserole anyway. And they do increase the vitamin content, particularly the vitamin C content, really dramatically. If you've got to go buy them fresh, I might not consider doing them with red peppers because they're very expensive in the early part of the season, and they won't come down until we get closer to the middle and end of summer. You could also add other things at this point, some chopped onion. You could also add some chopped broccoli. You probably would want to avoid adding anything that's got a really strong flavor like garlic because you want to be able to perceive the flavor of the corn, which is fairly mild. Just simply going to put this into a greased 2.5 quart casserole. The length of time that you're going to have to bake it is going to be dependent a little bit on, of course, your oven, but also the shape of the casserole that you use. One that's longer and flatter like this is probably going to take a little bit less time than the one that I have that's an example that's deeper and narrower. So this is going to go in the oven, 350, somewhere between 45 to 60 minutes. There's really not a really good test to determine doneness on this, simply when it gets a little crusty around the edges. If you don't cook it long enough, it's going to be a little bit too soft in the center, so you may not be real happy with it. So make sure you let it start to pull away from the sides a little bit before you pull it out of the oven. There you go. This is corn casserole, some nice color. The cheese is blended in there, but not so much that you can't enjoy it. And we'll put a little sprig of parsley on there. And when you try this, I want you to all remember to say thanks to my mom. She's the one that got us started on this segment. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.